Good.
So I titled
3, 2, 1.
So I titled my presentation "Growth of the Leader" because I'm a leader and I think I'm a reflective leader. So when I go back and reflect on the class, I want to see what I've learned or have done that will help me grow.
It's a side one, up and down.
All right, so here's my experience from the class. There was a lot of readings, and those readings were good. Especially, I appreciated the case studies because I think the case studies gives you a realistic look at the job as a superintendent and some of the things that they might face. For me, I just mentioned I'm a reflective leader, so the writings are very important to me because the writings is an opportunity for me to kind of write out what my thoughts are, where I see the application of the readings versus what I've done in my experiences, and it's an opportunity to blend them together. So that's really important for me. So the reflections in the class, I think, were good assignments for me. But I have to say that overall, the best experience for me was the guest speakers, especially today. I really got a lot from Dr. Gibson's panel talk. He gave us a framework that I think I'm going to take with me. I don't know if I'm going to use it holistically in my job, but I know that I will probably take pieces of it and take a good look at how I can apply that to what I do. But definitely the personal experiences of working out and exercising, family time, I think it's very important because there's got to be a balance in any type of leadership job, and I think that's something I'm personally missing as a leader, so I really want to implement that. But I would say that Dr. Steve Flores is probably influenced me the most, and the only reason I say that is because his talk was one of the first talks we heard. So some of the things that he talked about, I've been able to implement now. And I think that the most important thing I remember from his talk was we have a responsibility to lead now. So we're in this program, and I had a plan in place. My plan was to finish being an assistant principal, move to a principal position, and then within the next 5 or 6 years, be at a 6A principal position so that I could move into a assistant superintendency, and then eventually a superintendent. But I think that timeline might be a little too strict, and I need to be looking now for opportunities to move up. So even if I'm a principal only for a year, then move into a superintendency or assistant superintendency, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. Dr. Flores did talk about a reading list, and with that reading list, I bought every book that he actually gave on reading list. I actually ordered it that day, and I put all the books that Dr. Steve Flores talked about on my Amazon list, and as soon as I got home, I ordered every single book. So within a week, I had every book. Now with the readings from this class and 2 other classes I'm taking, I was only able to read 1 book, and that was the Contrarian's Guide to Leadership, which is the most important book that Dr. Flores had recommended. So what I wanted to do is, and I talked a little bit about what we've learned in class and how that affected me, but this book probably affected me the most, so I'm going to actually highlight some of the most important chapters for me. And the top, you're going to see the title of the chapter, and I took a little excerpt from each one. So Thinking Gray and Free, Intellectual Independence by Thinking Gray, and Enhance their intellectual creativity by Thinking Free. So what that chapter is basically saying is that you cannot be in a box when you're a superintendent or a leader. You need to think outside the box, and sometimes you have to think really crazy outside the box. You have to come up with unrealistic options or be creative in that sense, and then kind of hone it back in. Because by being unrealistic at first, you can hone it back in. But more importantly, you need to make sure that the people you surround yourself with and your lieutenants and your assistants, they also think that way as well. And that way there's a trickle-down effect because some of the best products, some of the best inventions, some of the best programs and ideas come out of Thinking Gray and Thinking Free. The next one is artful listening, which I think is very important. Artful listening is an excellent means to acquiring new ideas and gathering and assessing information. You need to listen to the people around you. You need to listen to the teachers. You need to listen to the principals. You need to listen to the leaders. You need to listen to the students. You need to listen to the community. You need to listen to the board members. And you need to really internalize that and talk to your experts that you surround yourself with. And then from that gain or come up with a decision that is going to benefit the district. Experts, saviors, and charlatans. This was a really good chapter. It talks about how the expert's role is to offer greater insight than the leader has in one or a small number of areas. It's very important as a leader to understand where your experts are coming from too, because they all have agendas as well, and they all have their one thing they're willing to die on, that hill they want to die on, and you want to make sure that you know where they're coming from before you make a decision based on what they say. But it's very important to understand where they're coming from, and realize that what they're saying, the background from what they're saying. You are what you read. Missing an opportunity to read a super text could be a major loss for both the leader and his followers. Every time you take an opportunity to read a book, you're missing out on 100 more books you could read. So you need to understand what you're reading, and you need to make sure that it's purposeful as well. And the super text are books that have a long-lasting history, like the Bible was one that he talked about, and how that influences leadership. So the super texts are important, but also be very purposeful about your reading. Decisions. There's 2 rules for decision making. Number 1, never make a decision yourself that you can reasonably delegate to a lieutenant. Okay, don't waste your time on decisions you can give to somebody else, because then it takes time away from some of the more important things. Never make a decision today that can be reasonably put off till tomorrow. Sometimes we make quick decisions, and then we make mistakes. So if you can sit on it and wait on it, you might come up with a better solution, or the problem might solve itself. Now that doesn't mean that if there's a crisis you don't make a decision, but if it can reasonably wait, and that's the key word, reasonably, then you put it off. Know which hill you're willing to die on. It was a chapter that's very important. In order to know which hill he's willing to die on, a leader needs to be consistently aware of his own moral beliefs and what the basis is for those beliefs. So know what you're willing to pick up and move for, and which ones you're not, because you'll last longer that way as a superintendent. Work for those who work for you. You should be the first assistant to the people who work for you. So that means that my associate superintendents, the people under me, I need to help them be successful, because then they're going to help me be successful. Follow the leader. Leaders don't really run organizations. Rather, leaders lead individual followers that collectively give motion and substance to the organizations of which the leader is the head. I don't run the organization. My teachers and my principals and assistant principals run the organizations, and I need to understand that so that I can be there and support them. So through this process, I had a minor setback. Personally, I was passed up for a principal promotion. That was I had a great interview, just came into a close second, and came down to someone who had a few more years of experience, but it wasn't about ability. But that kind of gave me a setback towards that superintendency. So I realized that when I was applying for positions outside of the district, that I wasn't getting interviews because in other districts, the academic dean position is lower than the assistant principal position, when in actuality, I'm more of a co-principal at Judson High School. So going through this course and knowing that where my path needs to go, I actually asked my principal if we could change my title. I'm not getting more pay. My duties really aren't changing much, but we reorganized the organizational chart. So now I'm going to be the deputy principal, but I'm still doing a lot of the academic dean duties. But there's another step before the principal, and it's going to be in the title on my resume that's going to help me. Opportunities to follow a different path. This is a different path. I may not be a principal right away, but I'll be a principal soon, or maybe I'll end up in a central office position, and maybe that'll be a different path for me. And without these experiences that I just talked about, the book, I think that I probably wouldn't be on the path I'm on right now. And I did purchase that book for all the administrative team. Now I got to figure out how to implement it and get them to learn and grow from it as well. Thank you.